welcome to episode 60 of Cutscene Convos, one for every year of Horizontal's very impressive life.
I was like, if you don't make the joke off the rip, I'm going to get in there before you.
This week we've got lots to cover, including a character profile on a little-known X-Men, before we get into Bad Batch episode 14, Mando episode 4, review of Shazam Fury of the Gods, and a spicy little Nerd News Network, before we wrap it all up with the Marvel Villains final in our Super Showdown bracket. But before all of that good stuff, Horizontal, how's your week been?
Actually, a busy week for one. I've had I think 3 weeks in a row. I've been pretty chill. Only my own fault to blame, to be honest. Done the usual of projects like a month ago. I was like, I've got like a month to do that. It's fine. It's got to the last week. I'm like, I need to do that project now. Why do I do this to myself? On top of that, fitting in the girlfriend's coming this weekend to mine and see the parents. So planning that and fitting that in, and also going to the barbers today and having to work around that. It's just been one of those where it's like, I should have been smart and got on with my work sooner, because now I've got a busier week than it needed to be. But I mean, we move, we deal with it. It's I've only got myself to blame. Yeah, other than that, Destiny as well. Grinding Destiny.
Yeah, you've abandoned us once again.
I mean, it's hard to step away. The problem is, as well, this last weekend in Destiny, it was what's called Trials, which is like their sweatiest 3v3 mode that comes around every so often. So me and my mate got hooked into doing that. And when I tell you, there's no matchmaking.
Okay.
It's like you can only queue into it if you are pretty much max like power level. So it's like top geared people sweating out against each other, and you're just chucked into the ringer, and it's like brutal, but in a good way.
That just doesn't sound good for mental health, I'll be honest.
It's not, but now it's gone. I'm like, I kind of want it back.
It's an abusive relationship,
just like Valorant, just like all these other games. So yeah, how's your week been?
It's been a very foghead week for me.
Foghead.
Just literally time dilation, sleepy as fuck. I couldn't tell you what day or time it is right now. I'm guessing it's Thursday because we're recording. Thursday. That's about it. We discussed it before. When your brain's in waiting mode, and you can't do anything because you're waiting for whatever it is you've got planned.
Yeah.
It's like I'm stuck in a waiting mode, but I don't know what for. So as a result of that, I'm just kind of zombied out. Honestly, if someone who was used to me saw me for this week, they'd probably think I was absolutely out of it on God knows what. Just the brain is not operating at full capacity this week at all.
I mean, we all have those weeks.
Yeah, it's a rough one. Hopefully we can go over it soon. But I was looking at my calendar for the next month, and I'm not in work really. I've got a 4-day week next week. Then we've got loads of bank holidays after that, and as well as that, I'm going to Ireland for a baptism. So it's a 4-day week, a 3-day week, a 4-day week, a 3-day week, a 4 working days, but only 3 in the office because one of them is a training day in Kent.
Nice.
And then another 4-day week, followed by 2 normal weeks, and then another 4-day week or so. It's just pure chaos.
Jesus.
Yeah, and amongst all that, we've got obviously weekly shows coming out. We've got D&D coming out in a couple of weeks, couple of weeks. Next Friday.
I don't.
It's going to be the end.
And
of the
Guardians isn't far off.
Guardians is not far off at all. But yeah, it's just chaos. I think realizing how busy the next couple of weeks are might have been what kind of sent me in a bit of a quote-unquote tailspin, because my brain is just trying to put puzzle pieces together that aren't fully there yet, but we move.
Wow.
So character profile.
Yes.
It's always a tricky one. And with my brain fog this week and Horry's antics of last night,
Oh, bro.
I was inspired by a
Oh,
very little
okay.
known X-Men called Forgetmenot. Forgetmenot is a very, very curious X-Man. Jabi, as he's known, although we don't know his last name, first appeared in X-Men Legacy number 300 in March 2014.
Oh, okay. Very new.
And his mutant ability is imperceptibility, which essentially renders him impossible to remember.
Okay.
So like once you're not looking at him, you forget he existed.
Most objects in my life.
Targeting systems for like cyborgs and robots can't detect him. He's not actually invisible. He just can't be perceived by anything.
Interesting.
To the point where Professor X had to set a psychic reminder in his own brain to force himself to remember him every hour.
What the fuck?
Yeah. So I believe he was used to retcon a number of things that didn't really make sense. Because people had like a skewed understanding. Sorry, I thought my eyes had gone blurry there, but my webcam's autofocus has gone. Hello. That'll grab me when it grabs me.
It'll fix itself.
So yeah, so like I believe he was used as a bit of a tool to retcon some things that didn't quite add up.
Right.
But what's really interesting is when Professor X died, he became like validly so really depressed because now no one remembered him. And like no one would ever regularly remember him. So he essentially became like a hidden guard for the Xavier School.
Okay.
As in he'd go patrolling around looking after the school, but like no one knew it was him.
Yeah.
To the point where one time a mutant girl was trying to get into the school, and the school's defenses were like had trapped her. So he took her place in the trap so that she could go, and he just stood there and went, "It's all right. The traps will forget me eventually," and they did. Like they forgot he was there, so they disengaged, and he was able to just walk away. However, his powers aren't like unbreakable, I guess is the right word. So psychics can kind of detect him.
Okay.
Due to like his brain signal, I guess. But even that doesn't last for long.
Right.
And they have to really focus on it just to notice him. There were robots on the helicarrier, the maintenance robots, that can remember him. For no apparent reason other than like they're designed to not be noticed. So like I believe the rationale was they're designed to not be noticed by anyone either, so they can notice stuff normal people wouldn't.
Okay.
But the main things is obviously if he uses supplies, food, paper, whatever, that does actually get used. So people can use that to kind of realize he's been.
Yeah.
And also when he's caught by a camera, it creates a weird kind of distortion field. Which the people who know of him, when they see that would remind them of him.
Right, okay.
But obviously the second they're not looking at that picture again, they'd forget him.
Yeah.
So like they can deduce that he's there even if they can't always remember him.
Interesting.
It's a very tragic character.
Yeah. It's kind of brutal.
Yeah, it really is. But it's also, I guess, kind of exactly what the X-Men are. They are, tragic. They've got all these brilliant powers, but if you look at them, a lot of them have really tragic stories. You've got Wolverine, who's lived through all of the world wars. You've got Rogue, who can't touch anyone she cares about. You've got Cyclops, who always has to look at the world through essentially like these rose-tinted glasses, despite seeing the darkness and everything. So it does kind of make sense, but at the same time, it's crazy. But yeah, that is our character profile this week. Forgetmenot.
I'm sure we'll get onto why that was
Yeah, we
inspired.
will. Moving on. Bad Batch episode 14. We're almost at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's just
not
next
happy
week.
about it. Really not happy about it.
The last one before the double whammy.
And it was definitely setting up the double whammy.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like this is very much setting up the finale. We got to see a bit of what Echo's been up to, and with Rex.
Yeah, bit of Echo and Rex building essentially the very early stages of the rebellion.
Yeah, and like the very early stages of fighting, like you say, the rebellion and fighting back against the Empire.
Yeah,
purely just to save their own brothers.
Yeah.
Finding clones that are being arrested and moved around and freeing them. And they got a pretty well run machine going. Like they are
using their military tactics.
Yeah, they are soldiers that were trained by the Empire, and the Empire's like, oh shit, they're now using that against us. They know everything about how our ships work and what we're doing. Like it's the ultimate inside spy. Like they know everything of how the ships work, how they run things, and they're using it against them to free their own.
And they're also creating a mass of like-minded people because they're clones who are disenfranchised as well. They're literally feeding them soldiers.
Yeah, they are. So that was cool to see. The little breakout rescuing, bit of data collection. If I remember right, that's the second person we've seen now that use the like electro tooth to sacrifice himself.
Yeah.
Which is interesting because we don't like. There's not really something we've seen in Star Wars that like this idea that people would die to hide stuff.
But I guess a lot of Star Wars has been about wars, where that's less common. Whereas the stuff we've seen has been the secret espionage kind of stuff.
Yeah, that's true.
Which is where that would be more common in storytelling anyway. But yeah, it is a good point. It seems to be a pretty unique thing we've seen.
Then we got Crosshair. We went back to Crosshair in his prison cell. And then getting interrogated by an interrogation drone. Yeah. But not answering, not giving up.
Yeah, no, he's staying strong. Either because he thinks So I think there's two elements to it. He either doesn't trust them, and he thinks, or at first anyway, he didn't trust them and thought, if I tell them, they're just gonna kill me straight away. Or straight away he was like, I'm not giving them up. We might not have seen eye to eye anymore, but I'm not giving them up.
I think it's he never was brainwashed. We realized, well, we found out that like his chip was non-functional either. Like he purely believed in following the orders. And I think that's why we're now seeing him it's not like is he still brainwashed or not anymore? It's like he is able to come up with his own conclusion of things, and it's like he just doesn't believe in what they stand for anymore. So I think that's why it's like, I'm not taking the deal. It is absolutely chucking it down here. I don't know if you can hear.
Hello?
Hello? Can you hear me?
You're cutting in and out a little bit. I think your noise gate is trying to cope with the rain.
Yes, it probably is. And maybe if I lean in, it'll help. Just get really close.
That's the stuff.
But yeah, I think we're seeing Crosshair kind of change his view on the chain of command. He doesn't believe in what their values are now and sees their values are changing. And he's being made to do things he doesn't agree with. And because he's not chipped or brainwashed, like, he's now sticking up for, or seeing what the Bad Batch saw.
Yeah.
He's now kind of caught up to speed and he's like, okay, I ain't gonna sell out my brothers. Like, if they still see eye to eye or not, like.
Yeah. And I also think, although he wasn't too keen on Omega, he respected her because, I mean, she kind of saved him at the end of season 1.
Yeah.
So I think he was kind of the opinion, well, I don't want to be in debt to anyone. So by keeping my mouth shut here, me and her are even.
Yeah. But he does make a little breakout attempt,
He does.
which
Well, I don't think he ever actually intended on actually breaking out. I think he knew he wouldn't be able to get out.
yeah, I think so too.
I think his plan was always just to get that message out.
I like that he missed the odd shot, but he was still very accurate, very drunk, drugged up. Yeah, he gets the message out. I forget what the code name was for it.
Maneuver 88 or whatever it was.
Something. Oh yeah, something 88.
Plan 88.
But then passes out to the gas before he says anything more, which I thought was interesting. It's he obviously would still remember all their old code names for things, and to use those to try and be like, look, I'm me. Hopefully they believe that it is genuine, but obviously doesn't know. And then we're back on the island after the tsunami.
What I will say, sorry, just going back to the prison break at the beginning of the episode, I really enjoyed that you can already see the difference in quality between the clone soldiers and the stormtroopers.
Yes. I know what you
Clones were
mean.
just like too fast, too efficient for them. It just goes to show that the Empire wanted to not have to rely on clones, and as a result, they downgrade. Because I mean, the stormtroopers have always been a bit of a meme.
Yeah,
In A New Hope, they're referred to as like these elite soldiers, and then they go on to never hit a damn thing.
Yeah.
So like, I think I've always thought that's kind of part of the reason that it was then explained that the stormtroopers weren't clones because they wanted the clones to be amazing. So like, okay, so we tell this story of the clones, and now Dave Filoni's going, okay, so this is how the clones went away, and this is why we got this downgrade, and it all kind of adds up.
Yeah, it does. That's a nice point, like with the seeing that transition.
Yeah,
which we've talked about more times. Like we're seeing more of the transition between clones to stormtroopers, which we just haven't had before. But yeah, we're back on the island. Echo rocks up after Omega's learning to fly.
Omega's learning to fly was phenomenal. You just see everyone really happy. You've got Omega learning to fly. Tech actually seems, although he's like being very tech about it, he seems pretty content. And then you've got Hunter going out fishing, doing what he's good at. He feels useful. You've got Wrecker loving life, just doing a million things and helping everyone.
Yeah, they're like, so you can clearly see that they're unwinding and like this realization of like, oh, we can enjoy life. Like we don't have to be on the run 24/7.
Yeah.
Obviously Echo rocks up with getting tech to decode info, which then reveals that they learn about the Doctor.
Yeah. A very suspicious
who,
Doctor, man.
Yeah, they don't know much about other than he was.
I mean, we don't really know much about him either.
This is true. All that we know is he used to work for the Republic, but then got fired, basically.
Yeah, kind of ironically, the reverse of what we saw in Mando last week.
Yes. But then put to a secret operation, and then also come across the fact that Crosshair was a previous prisoner, which then led to Tech checking all comms and finding this thing, which rightly so, they don't 100% trust. Crosshair has come across them.
I think it's just Hunter who's really concerned about it being a trap. I think the others are like, whether it's a trap or not, that's still our brother.
Well, I think they'll all be a little wary, Hunter more so because it's Hunter. But I think even Tech and that would be a little bit of, well, he did this last time and it was a trap. But like they're gonna kind of want to find out more because his message didn't really give him a lot.
Yeah. All he knew is that someone's after us.
Yeah, and obviously we then see more of Crosshair getting interrogated and find out that they're wanting Omega, which is we pretty much knew, but it's like they're wanting Omega, and I think that's where it's setting up. We've got a double-parter finale, and my opinion is either we're gonna see them feeling okay, we've got to find out where Crosshair is and go and see. They go find him, break him out, or someone does catch up to them. Maybe it's Sid sells out on Omega.
I would not be surprised to see Sid be the sellout.
I think Omega's going to get caught, and then it's going to be a breakout for get Omega and Crosshair out.
Yeah, I can see that.
But I don't think they're going to settle. They're not going to be able to.
No, I've already told you I'm really worried about that place just not being allowed to be settled. It might even be that Sid gives them up and they work out that, they were working with the pirate lady. This is where the pirate lady's from. Let's go find them there. They destroy the whole place, take Omega, and then you got Hunter, Wrecker, and Echo and Tech going, holy shit, they've destroyed the one place we might have a chance at having a home as, and they've taken Omega. Let's go burn down the fucking Empire.
Yeah, I think you could be right there. There's going to be some big fight back, reason for them to fight back and go ham after them. They're obviously setting up this secret labs thing. It's I don't know if we've got a confirmed season 3 or if we're gonna get more, but
Disney Plus never really seems to confirm anything too far at a time.
I'm wondering
if
they
really do want to give themselves all of the options possible.
Depending how this ends, we could get Bad Batch season 3, or do we end up seeing a new series which follows what Rex and Echo are doing?
Maybe.
And that's how both. Or maybe both. Because we know this is basically just the continuation of the Clone Wars animated.
It's just the Clone Wars title made no sense anymore because the Clone Wars is over.
Yeah, so I wonder if we'll go they're gonna do animate all the way up to episode 4.
Maybe.
And fully bridge the gap.
It'd be interesting to see for sure.
Yeah, it would.
You've got some options for some little time hops in there.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure. But I'm looking forward to the finale.
So am I. I think it's going to be really interesting to see how it's split up.
Yeah.
And I mean, I wonder if the first of the two gets left on a cliffhanger.
Oh, definitely.
Or if they just go, well, they're both coming out together, so let's just essentially tell it as an hour-long story and just cut it in half, wherever that happens to be.
I think it'll be a cliffhanger in the sense of that, when you have a big episode and there's that mid-episode and then it would normally go in TV to a break. It'll be that sort of feeling. So that everyone's like, oh shit, cue up the second episode straight away.
A big revelation, bit of information or something.
Something like that.
Mando episode 4.
Yes.
Oh my god. So damn good.
It was another great episode.
I'm really, really loving this.
I have one small gripe.
Yeah.
They're very inconsistent with their episode length this season.
So here's this. I actually discussed this with Jenna after watching it. I think it's good and bad. So I think it comes from a place that is good because the idea is we're writing these episodes with a story to tell, and then however long that ends up being is how long the episode is.
Yeah, no, I do think that's the reason.
A lot of seasons where they have really consistent episode lengths is they write out the story for the season, and then they just break it up into 40-minute chunks.
Yeah.
Everyone will have a preference. I quite like this idea of, well, that's how long they wanted that story to be, because it makes it feel like Mandalorian never overstays its welcome. Could you imagine if they decide every episode has to be 40 minutes, and then the 50-minute episodes they're rushing a little bit, and then the 30-minute episodes like this week they're stretching?
True.
I think what they're doing is they're going, this is it. However long that takes is how long the episode is, because that's what we want to accomplish.
Yeah, I mean, I can understand that. I do think you're right, probably in the sense of considering they call them chapter something.
Yeah,
They're doing it as like there's a set story. I think it
yeah,
just comes from a selfish place of like I want more.
yeah,
So
yeah.
like this
You
week,
want to know
I
how much
want
time you need to set aside.
I want like this week it was a shorter one. I was like, "Ah, I just want hour episodes because I just want to watch more. I just want
Yeah,
more. That's all it is. But yeah, no, I think you're right. Actually, like it does come from a place of like they have set chapters and this is the story, however long it
yeah.
takes to achieve
Well,
what they want to achieve.
when you're reading a book, you know, like if
Yeah,
the book's 200 pages and there's 10 chapters, not every chapter's 20 pages.
yeah, I get you.
Um, and I do think that's where it comes from, but I do agree it feels a bit alien because it's not common at all.
No, yeah,
Because you're never going to see that kind of thing on network TV.
no,
Um,
you're not.
because because of the way network TV works. But with streaming services,
You can do
they
what you
kind
want.
of have the ability to go, well, this is it. And like Netflix, because they do the binging model rather than the
Yeah,
weekly model, they can make all their episodes the exact same length because once again they're like, well, it doesn't
it's
matter
all
if
there.
that bit of the story isn't finished because we want you to go to the next episode straight away anyway.
Yeah.
Um, so I do agree it is a bit weird, but I don't dislike it completely. But
Mm.
as you said, yeah, I'd happily watch an hour every week.
Yeah. Well, this week's episode was good. I enjoyed this week's episode. It was fun seeing all the Mandalorians like training.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely feels like they're prefacing a big fight coming.
Well, I
Um,
think we're starting to see a lot of what like the plan is for characters. Din
yeah,
just wants to be a dad.
yeah,
Bo's going, okay, if I know the mythosaur's there, I get the dark saber off Din, I kill the mythosaur, and then all of these devouts are gonna follow me to the ends of the universe. And that'll give me enough cred to then take Mandalore back and have everyone follow my rules.
yeah. I think you're getting. I agree with like Din just wants what's best for Grogu. He wants to train Grogu up so he can
Yeah,
fend for himself, and that's all
be
he
a
really cares
Mandalorian.
for. Um, I think with Bo, it's more of like she lost everything. She had this idea of rebuilding it or getting Mandalorians back together, but then gave up on that. And it's like this whole she'd like given up on that dream idea of rebuilding Mandalore, and then boom, along comes a mythosaur and a cult welcoming her in, and she's like, "Wait, this is the closest I've ever felt to having Mandalore back. Like
Yeah.
everyone's training, people are showing that like it's
You think she's
Mandalorians
really
at their
sipping the Kool-Aid?
strength. Yeah, I think she's starting to sip the Kool-Aid and feel like this is this is actually maybe the way we get back to where we were. Maybe this is the way.
Maybe maybe this is the way.
Um
Um, it's also really interesting that we kind of got a logical reason, although I say logical reason, we got a reason that makes sense with the storytelling as to why they've made it so Grogu hasn't spoken yet. Because the second Grogu speaks or can speak, there's going to have to be discussions about him becoming a full Mandalorian and getting a helmet, and obviously they
yeah,
don't want to rush that.
no. I liked that
This season
little
ends with Grogu's first word.
I think you're right. And I liked the little thing of the kid who we found out was Tar Vizslar's son, like
Yeah.
later on in the episode. Didn't give a shit when he got
Also,
grabbed.
Tar Vizsla is no Pal Vizsla. Tar Vizsla's the OG.
Sorry, yeah, Pal Vizsla.
Paz Vizsla is
Paz.
such a giga Chad. I didn't
Oh,
realize until they were flying about in this episode that his fucking chain gun's attached to his jetpack as well.
yeah.
That's
He's
fucking so giga Chad.
but yeah, his son like Din gets Grogu to challenge him, and he's like, "Oh, I'm not fighting him. He's not even wearing a helmet." It's like, "Well, he's not old enough to," which I feel is like a subtle way of he's gonna get a helmet. Like everyone,
Yeah.
we know you're all fucking talking about it. Like,
Yeah.
yeah, he's gonna get a helmet at some point. I thought it was funny that takes two shots and eventually he's like, "Ah, fuck it, I'll use my Jedi tricks." Just fucking leaps over this kid.
He was kind of looking at his dad like, Dad, what do I do? He's like, just don't hold back. Just give him some. We're Mandalorians. We can take it. So he's like, okay, cool.
He's like,
Scammer get scammed.
yeah, he's like, he literally was like, this kid's probably thinking, this fucking piss easy. And the next second, oh shit, no, you're against a training Jedi, like someone with the Force. Like, you ain't winning, kid. Also, can we talk about why are they still at this cave?
I really don't know. It seems like a very dangerous place to live.
Yeah, it's like, first they get attacked by crocs. Now they're getting attacked by some bird thing that apparently has taken people already in the past.
Well, so I have some questions about this. A, this doesn't seem any safer than Mandalore, so why not just go back to Mandalore?
Yeah.
I get these weirdos think it's cursed, but still. But also, why did they think that the kid would still be alive? Like it took them a whole last day because they camped out. Why, like that bird didn't grab him, and no offense, seemed like a pedophile who just wanted a child. It seemed like it was hungry.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, well, they talked about the fact that they've dealt with this before, and when they've shot it, then killed it. It's like, well,
Yeah.
why are you still here dealing with this? Like, why is this a regular occurrence that one of you's getting snatched? Like,
Yeah,
and
it's an interesting one.
They tried to fly after in the sky. Well, it always gets away. We never have the fuel. But yeah, I thought it was a weird. It was a bit of a weird thing. It's like, why are they dealing with this? It's such a weird. It's fucking Mandalorians. They can't help themselves. But yeah, they go rescue the kid who we find out is Paz Vizsla's son. Who, wait, like when it pans to him when he gets grabbed, no reaction from him on the beach that his son's just been snatched. It's like,
everyone was oddly like, don't get me wrong, a lot of them jumped up straight away, but yeah, there wasn't like a big outburst like, no, my son.
Yeah, it was just like, shit, it's this thing again. But yeah, then they do like a whole little mission to get the son back, with Bo being like the leader, which I think again leans into this thing of like she's feeling that leadership role again, and people accepting her and following her, and she's sipping the Kool-Aid and getting a taste for the old times.
Yeah.
Also, it's very weird. Like, it's such a weird concept that they all got their food and then all just went off to their own rock.
This was another thing I was saying to Jenna while we were watching it. In basically all cultures and religions, meals are a very big thing. Eating together, breaking bread together, just like throughout history, throughout culture, throughout different religions, meals were always a big thing, which I think is really interesting to see how Mandalorian culture, meals are still a big thing, but in a completely different way because people can't eat together.
Yeah, and then it's also like the leader is the one that gets the benefit of the fire. So like you're the big head honcho of this, so you get to have the benefit of the fire. It's like that, in a way, that self-punishment of putting themselves on their own.
Yeah.
Which sums up Mandalorians. Like, they've all lived scattered and become life of solo. Like, they're all been on their own for a long time.
But that's not how Mandalorians would be traditionally, though, is it? That was just as a result of Mandalore falling.
True. So there was definitely people that were the very devout back in the height of Mandalore, but there was a lot of people didn't. They walked around without like helmets on or whatever. So it's very much is a religious thing.
Also, I hate to say it, but we're all adults here.
Well,
there are a lot of kids cutting about for a religion that can't take the helmet off.
Well, this is something I saw online. It was like when it got revealed that was Vizsla's son. It's like, so who's the mum? And do they take their helmets off when they bang, or do they have to?
The way. No one can see your face.
Yeah, but is it different when it comes to love?
So hot in there.
Is it different when it's someone like? Maybe they have to be married, and you can only share your face with someone you're married to.
I don't know. I feel like we need an entire TV show just explaining the Mandalorian.
The sweet life of the Vizslas.
Yeah, I need like a 2-hour, like
just walking around in a shirt,
HBO.
Just shirt and shorts, but just a helmet on.
Yeah, like honestly, like it's crazy. It's crazy.
It is wild. But yeah, we got to see like the full force of what Mandalorians can do. Like the fact that they're very skilled, very powerful tacticians or whatnot. They get the kid back and plus 3 weird, ugly, giant bird babies.
Well, I mean, it's hilarious because it's kind of exactly what happened to Mando with Grogu.
Yeah.
He was put in care of a child, and he said to the armorer, "But this child's a Jedi. The Jedi are our enemies." And they're like, "Our enemy's child is still a child. It's our way to look after them."
Yeah, it's like they've killed the mum, so they're like, oh well, we got to take on the kids.
Yeah, we can't let these children die. That is not the way. We must
You
make
know
the
for a
Mandalorian.
fact though, another season down the line, we're going to re-see these birds with 3 Mandalorians riding them.
Yeah, boy. Oh, the fucking Beskar beasts flying through the
There's gonna,
sky.
yeah, they're gonna like
Yeah.
put Beskar armor on them, and then just gonna be flying around Mandalore.
Fuck yeah.
Um,
Also,
maybe
Grogu getting his little patch like his dad.
yes. So that was, I thought that was a cool thing of like the armorer explaining to Grogu that everyone gives something to the foundlings. And from her, it was like she smithed him up a bit of armor. Of which we also got the same thing. We got our mandatory Order 66
Flashback.
flashback scene moment, whatever you want. We got the
Also,
full Grogu scene.
imagine getting cast as the Jedi who get to save everyone's favorite little green dude.
Well, do you know the fun fact about who that guy was?
No, I do not.
It's canon now, but Jar Jar Binks has saved Grogu. That is the guy.
Is that the voice actor?
That is the voice actor of Jar Jar Binks, who has had his recompense and like redemption arc.
That is the best redemption arc I've ever heard of.
Because like, I forget the actor's name; it's slipping my mind. But he, for a lot of people,
so much shit.
yeah, he has spoken out about the amount of shit that he got from the fan base and over the years, and what, like, it put him in a bad place mentally and stuff.
Imagine.
So for him to get the opportunity to come back as a Jedi, and like a pretty badass Jedi moments,
yeah,
and be the
guy
person
did some work
who saves everyone's current favorite little youngling, in Grogu. It's like, yeah, it's the best person they could have ever chosen for that, and I love that for him. So that was very cool.
That was
like
very, very cool.
Little fun fact. But I thought everyone obviously when we saw the trailer was like, oh, the door's being cut. It's gonna be like Anakin stood there, and I always said it wasn't.
Anakin.
I always said it wouldn't, because if Anakin was there, Grogu would have died. Let's be real. Like, if Anakin ever saw Grogu, he would never have got out of the temple alive.
Well, you say that, but what's her face who became an Inquisitor saw Anakin?
Yeah, but
I get your point, but I think a lot of that discussion wouldn't have been a thing if Hayden Christensen hadn't been in the Kenobi series.
True.
I think that was the only reason it was even discussed.
But I thought it was cool. I thought the whole like escape thing was very cool.
The 501st looked really good in that flashback.
Yeah. And I really loved the shot of as they're flying away from the burning Jedi temple. Very much mirrors what Padme could see from her window.
We got to see the Rock again.
Yes, I love that little, like, it totally makes sense why they put it in last week's episode, because they wanted to throw to it this week.
It adds context. It makes you feel like you know the place better.
Yeah.
Because it's like a landmark.
Without last week's episode, I would have just been like, cool, they're in Coruscant. Seeing that this week, you're like, oh shit, that's the tip of the planet where they were. Like, it just makes it so much more meaning to it.
Yeah, the only two real things you see are the Jedi Temple, which everyone will know from the prequels, and that rock which we saw last week. And it just, like, mentally,
ties it all together.
Your brain starts to build like a map of Coruscant, and you're like, I know that place. Oh, I feel like I'm there.
Well, yeah, and it also just ties all the timelines together as well in a nice way. But yeah, the escape scene was very cool. Getting into the ship and then fucking zipped away. What happens after that? Who knows? I don't think we'll ever find out, really. I don't think they need to. Like, Grogu obviously got passed around a lot, and
I mean, I kind of want to know who the friends are, because he mentioned friends, didn't he?
Yeah.
I wonder if that's going to be relevant.
Maybe. I hadn't considered that.
But yeah, I mean, I feel like this entire series is building up for a little bit of a kerfuffle between Bo and Din. and for
Yeah,
Grogu's first word, so that we can start seeing the Grogu. The Grogu is actually the Mandalorian arc.
yeah, I think we're. You're right. I do think we're leading up to some sort of butt of heads between Bo and Mando, and I think it's going to be a sense of Bo's going to want to. She's going to be fully sipping the tea and be like, "This we can rebuild Mandalore. Like I can go. I will show to everyone the mythosaur that I saw. I'm going to rebuild Mandalore." Mando's like, which is like, "I need you to lead with the saber," and Mando's like, "I don't want that responsibility." And then there's going to be some butting of heads of what they should do.
Yeah.
And then yeah, I think the whole Grogu speaking is definitely going to happen. I'm very much looking forward. Also to note, we said was it last week or the week before? It was last week. Paz Vizsla was like looks salty as fuck with Mando for him being back. He was happy as chap now. Now Mando saved his son. It's like, oh, but yeah, I love you now. Yeah,
I think he's starting to view him as a bit more worthy.
Yeah, he's not seeing him as this like outsider who broke the rules and has come back. He's
exactly.
like, definitely. But I think we're about halfway point now. I think there's only 8.
Yeah, I mean, there's only been 8 in the last 2.
So it's going to be interesting to see where we're going from here and how things tie together as we go forward. But I'm loving it. I mean, as always, the VFX looks amazing. So
yeah,
real good. Really can't complain on that front.
So, Shazam, Fury of the Gods.
Sorry, what film?
Would you like to talk everyone through your kerfuffle?
So the podcast, you guys know, if you've watched other episodes, as films come out, Connor's always been like, I've got my tickets booked for tomorrow. As you're listening to this, I'm going to see it at this time on release. Horry will see it when he gets around to seeing it because he always leaves it to the last minute, which is normally fine. I'm well enough organized that I'm like, okay, I'll go see it on this day, like late night showing, whatever. I realized yesterday like dinner time,
like 6 o'clock, you messaged me.
Yeah, and only like an hour or so before that had it like clicked in my head. I was just like, because obviously I had loads going on this week. I'm going through stuff and I'm like, oh shit, I haven't been to see Shazam. Damn. So then I'm having a panic of like, there was one showing. Like my cinema already was fucking giving up hope on the film. There's one showing yesterday because I couldn't make any today. And so yeah, I very much in a rush, last minute, booked a ticket and went in the next 20 minutes to go see Shazam. But I was just like completely forgot about this film, which I think thoroughly sums up how this film was anticipated.
So it's an interesting one. I don't think this film is any worse than Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania.
I would agree on
that. It's better in some places than it's worse in some places, but overall, I think it's about the same quality of film.
Yeah.
I think it's really hurt by a thorough lack of interest in DC at the minute.
I think it's been very hurt by everyone who cared about DC knows the DCU's restructuring. And as we said months ago, any film that comes out after that announcement doesn't mean fucking anything because everyone knows it means nothing going forward.
Yeah. But the highlights.
Yes.
I think the family vibes and the interactions between the family members were lovely. They were very heartwarming. They felt very real.
Yeah.
It was nice. It was just that. It was nice. You could tell Billy still didn't quite felt like he belonged, and that's why he was holding on to everyone so tight. We obviously very early on saw that Billy wasn't calling his adopted mother Mum yet, which obviously at the end we get the big, yeah, I'll do it, Mum, don't worry. And don't get me wrong, I have never been someone who really gets emotional at media. But there was a couple of bits there where I was like, oh, that's hitting them heartstrings a little bit. That's some good stuff.
The film did a really good job on hitting like the comedy points of Shazam, which people kind of expect a bit from the first film, and but it still managed to hit some pretty strong emotional points, with like you're saying, and yeah, there was a couple of points in the film where it really hits your kind of heartstrings, which I think was great from that. Like they did a good job with that. And yeah, I agree. The whole family vibes was great. It was just a bit. I don't know how to.
I think it was exactly what I was concerned / expected it to be last week. It was very similar to the first film, but it improved slightly on the comedy and the family dynamics, but the villain wasn't really any more compelling.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't. It lacked on a compelling villain, and it felt very much like Origin Story Part 2, which used to be a pretty commonplace to oh, we've had the origin story, now we do a bit of this is the big character development so they find who they truly are. And it's it's been done and kind of expected. It just felt okay, it's pretty sure the villain's cool, there's a couple of twists, and it's it works, but it was it was clearly just a villain to get across this point of Billy becoming finding his value of who it's the part 2 of his origin. It's which is fine if this was gonna go anywhere.
Exactly.
But it's not.
So what I'll say is I think Helen Mirren was phenomenal. I think she did a really good job.
Yeah.
Lucy Liu was good, but it felt like she was really hamming it up at times.
Yeah, I can see that.
It felt like she was a bit pantomimey at times. And I didn't really get that. I don't. It's just it kind of felt, in my opinion, like they could have done with it not being a world level threat.
Yeah. It felt like a big threat level villain that
But you have no idea.
We had no idea who they are, and it also felt like if it's that level, why is Billy dealing with this? Surely, especially because they've pretty early on in the film set the precedent of he's talking about all the other heroes in his child therapy session. He's like, oh, there's a guy who can run quicker than me who also has a lightning bolt on his chest. There's all the talking about the DCU heroes, and so you're very much from the get-go, we're oh, okay, so they are fully committing to this film being in DCU. If it's a threat level of this big, why has none of them shown up?
It was just a bit weird in places. I think the first 2 acts were just fine. They weren't bad, they weren't great. The third act really hurt the film for me.
Yeah, it kind of it hit a weird pacing bit, and then it's
it felt like instead of just having a big fight between the hero and the villain, they needed this half an hour of just random shit in the city with 30 seconds, a minute of fighting, followed by 2 or 3 minutes of Freddy chasing after Anna.
Yeah, it kind of it felt like a weird way for them to set up it being just Billy left and having to fight them on his own so he can overcome this thing. And it's the way they went around it just felt a bit long-winded.
I will say, although it was some of the worst and most obvious product placement I've ever seen, the unicorn with the Skittles was kind of funny.
Yeah, the whole taste the rainbow was just so in your face.
The taste the rainbow motherfuckers, brilliant, cool. But then they showed them skewer one demon thing, and then we literally got nothing else until right at the very end.
And we see they've rounded them all up in a part.
And we had no idea how they've done that.
Or why the here's my thing.
Are just standing there nicely.
I think that all got cut. And I think there probably was more skewered things, but it would have put the rating up or something.
Maybe, but you still could have seen the monsters go, oh shit, these are unicorns, which they're all apparently scared of, and they start running away, and then they manage to shepherd them up a little bit. And
I
I know
think it got cut, is my
yeah,
guess.
I think that created the pacing problem because it felt like just lots of 30-second clips, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get you.
Um,
I don't know if you thought the same. So we knew it kind of been revealed
in a
that
TV spot like 2 days before it came out.
that Wonder Woman was going to be in it. Did you think the restaurant thing, when it was purposefully wasn't showing her face, that they were like, "Ah, this is all just bait. We haven't actually." Like I was watching that and I was just like, "Oh, they've baited us with the TV spot."
Yeah.
They couldn't afford the actual actress. They're just purposefully
No, I
only
can't.
showing.
I'll be honest. I get that the whole idea was, oh, he's not actually met, so we can't see her face. But it just shows how poorly thought out that was. That they could reference Wonder Woman earlier in the film, but they couldn't get her in to shoot the fucking scene.
Well, yeah, it just it was just very weird. Like it almost seemed like you couldn't get Gal there, so you've done a weird workaround.
And I mean, she was pointless. So here's the thing: I get in action films, you have the trope of, oh no, the hero's dead. Wait, not really. Walks out of the smoke.
Yeah.
I get that trope. I don't like that trope, but I accept it and I expect it. Do not go to the extended effort of making us actually think he's dead by having him buried or whatever, to then have a lame cop out bullshit excuse of Wonder Woman turns up. Or anyone turns up and magically revives them. Don't want to fucking hear it.
So here was what I was
It's
thinking.
lazier than them clutching their side and limping through the rubble.
Here's what I was thinking. I was like, okay, he's died, and then they're doing the burial. And I'm like, the wizards. Something's gonna happen. It's gonna be like Shazam. He's alive. Cool. What I wasn't expecting was, there's no power in the staff because there's no gods left. For them to go, hi, there's still a god left. Do 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 do. Boom, power again. But then it's like, cool, the staff relit, but there's like, at least give us some sort of like lightning bolt hits the fucking ground rather than just pop out comes an arm and he's alive. Like, what?
Yeah.
It was very like not even any indication that he's been brought back or saved. Like, yeah, it was a very. Do you know what it was? This film was obviously written pre DCU announcements and all this. They were clearly wanting to set it up to bring it into the DCEU world. They did that from the get-go in the film with references, and their great way to do that, to really tie it in, is like, we'll just have Wonder Woman show up. And that's all it was this idea, like their way of like being like, easiest way to just say, yes, this is connected, is just shove Wonder Woman in it.
Yeah.
The problem is, now that the DCU's been announced and the DCEU is dying, that kind of just kills the film.
Yeah, no one gives a fuck.
Because it's like, cool, Wonder Woman's there. Means fuck all anymore. Like, she ain't. Like, this film already didn't feel. Like, we knew this is where it's ended. But it's like,
I was looking for it to just be fun and make a bit of sense.
Like, you could have ended it. You could have, knowing that the DCU was coming out now, just fucking cut that bit out at the end. Just end it with him dying, and then you'd have Shazam 1 and Shazam 2 would be quite happy as just two films that live on their own. But no, you had to kind of like try and tie it into a dead franchise.
But also with the post-credits thing.
Yeah.
So they're obviously talking about the Justice Society, which we saw in Black Adam.
Yes.
And we'll get more into that whole shithousery in the Nerd News Network. But the two characters we saw were from Peacemaker.
Right.
Which is a James Gunn project.
Yeah.
Which we know is staying in the DCU. We know the Peacemaker team is in the DCU. So in the same film, they've referenced both the DCU and the DCEU.
So is this
Elseworlds or not?
So here's my thought. Originally, Peacemaker and that was obviously all going to get tied into the DCU. But then obviously with James Gunn taking over and doing DCU, he obviously wants to keep his little project. He's gone, it's not really tied in yet. I can make that work. Obviously, this post-credit scene messes with that, but it's on its own. Peacekeeper could probably be pulled away and pushed into, like, they can explain, like, I don't know, it's a different universe. However they want to do it.
It felt like an unnecessary way to try and confuse things.
I think it was less to, like, tie it into Peacemaker. The post-credit scene very much, to me, felt like it was them trying to tie it to Black Adam, because they were also going to have those two films tie into the DCU, and we had the Superman reveal on Black Adam. Like, it was very, you could tell, or you could see that their plan was to tie these two films, because they're so close to each other, is like tie them together and tie them into the DCU. The problem is, with the DCU being shelved, scrapped, those post-credit scenes for both of them have meant fuck all. And yeah, they're just, I get that it's all done and it was already all filmed and stuff, so it was going to come out. But it's like, yeah, I mean, it is what it is. They were trying to tie it into a thing. That thing doesn't exist anymore. So at the end of the day, the post-credit scenes mean fuck all. And they are what they are.
That begs the question, why even leave it in?
Yeah, but I think, do you know what? I think if it's me, the only reasoning I can think is like those films will, like, they exist, and it's like the DCEU as a collective exists. At least they can say, look, these films are tied into that world. All of these films are collective part of the DCEU. If anyone wants to go back and watch that, like, at least it confirms that they are part of that world. Whether it does anything, you could have cut them out or not, but, like, I guess, yeah,
just weird, isn't it?
This is the problem that I said months ago when the DCU got, like, Aquaman, Shazam, Black Adam, all the Flash, like, they're all going to mean nothing because we know they don't go anywhere. So unfortunately, they're just being put out because they've been made already and they need to make some money back.
On to the Nerd News Network.
Yes.
We got an interesting one, and I forgot something off the end, but I'll throw that on the end, and then we'll discuss that. First up, The Rock's massive fucking ego, even bigger than his roided muscles, unsurprisingly hurt both Shazam and Black Adam, because there's supposed to be a post-credit scene, or actually maybe even a full-on cameo in Black Adam referencing Shazam. And Black Adam was also supposed to make a cameo at the end of Shazam Fury of the Gods, which could have set up a nice trilogy where they both get to go out and have a fight off together, which is what everyone actually wants, that could be an Elseworlds project and still have got made. But The Rock doesn't want to be tied to Shazam, even though Black Adam literally exists because of Shazam. I'm sick of it. I'm sick of Hollywood people wanting to do a superhero film because they know that there is big money to be made if you can associate yourself with a character a la RDJ and Chris Evans, but they don't give a fuck about the character.
Do you know why those
and this
people
is what I said when Black Adam was coming out.
You did. Do you know why RDJ and Chris Evans succeeded at those characters? Because they didn't put their egos ahead of the films that were being made. You're right. Here's the thing. It follows on from what we've just been talking about in Shazam. And it's like, had Shazam Fury of the Gods not so in our face made references to the DCU, and then with the post-credit scene and having Wonder Woman, like, if they'd not done any of that and kept Shazam, like, stuck with, like, the first one, it's like, they don't really say it's in the world. It's just like, they're dealing with their own shit. Like, if you made no references to DCU, and if Black Adam never made a reference and never had Superman at the end and all that shit, like, if you cut all those few little bits out, like you say, Black Adam, the Shazam 2 films, all could have existed in their own little universe had these cameos gone ahead.
Apparently that Superman cameo was originally supposed to be Shazam.
Well, there we go.
So Waller was going to send Shazam in because obviously he's literally like for like, and it's like, he'll stop you if you don't behave. But The Rock's fucking ego's like, no, I want Superman.
But it's like,
And here's the thing,
I said it
no
after
one
Black
is
Adam
actually
though.
surprised by it.
No, and I said it after Black Adam. I was like, having Superman cameo at the end has killed the future of that film. Because this was before we even knew the details of DCU. Like, this was very early announcement. I was like, Black Adam's future's killed because they've shoved Superman in it. And all we knew about DCU was Henry Cavill wasn't going to be Superman. Like, that had all broken. So it just means the Rock's shot himself in the foot, essentially. Yeah. And there's a world where Shazam and Black Adam have their own little thing, ends up existing in Elseworlds. It's a cool little standalone bundle of films. But those characters are now going to be shelved till way down the line when James Gunn's like, oh yeah, maybe I will use those now.
It would have been really cool for Shazam to be handled slightly differently, so that there's no real tie into any universe, so it can be Elseworlds.
Yeah.
Black Adam goes off and does his thing for another film,
Mm-hmm.
and then they share a third film, which is Black Adam versus Shazam.
Yeah.
Because if you think about it, if you take out Superman and Wonder Woman from them films, what you're left with is just characters that haven't been seen in any other films.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
The only, it's the perfect Elseworlds 5-film little run that people could have a little cult loving for.
I guarantee James Gunn would have done that had they not tried so hard to tie those films into the DCU. They were so concerned about trying to tie them in that it's then killed their future, because at the end of the day, James Gunn's come in and gone, no, you've connected yourself too much to DCU. There's no point in using you. It's too confusing. And hindsight, but for Black Adam and Shazam, where these films have kind of broke after the news, you can't tell me there wasn't enough time to make adjustments to the cuts to make it, to potentially secure a future.
Yeah, if you're a fan of superhero films and want the best for them, you should be fucking furious with The Rock. Yeah. Because his ego has costed you what could have been, which I think in general in comic book movies we need more of anyway. Little arcs that are told separately from everything. Elseworlds, if handled right, is going to make a lot of money and be really fun things for people who like superhero films but don't want to have to commit to 3 films and 3 TV shows a year.
Yeah.
Imagine over the course of 6 years, there are 4 films that are separate from everything else, and they're a little story arc, and you get to just enjoy it.
And it also, we get these more obscure characters like Shazam and Black Adam, especially with the way the DCU's going, quite clearly aren't going to be used anytime soon in that. So it's it's a lost opportunity, unfortunately. And
big time.
To be honest, it has now meant that The Rock isn't part of it. So, silver lining.
Yeah. But if you're a diehard Marvel fan, take this as a warning. Do not let The Rock anywhere near the MCU. His ego will make things worse, not better.
Yeah, I think Kevin knows better.
Mm-hmm. On to not just Shazam news, but still kind of Shazam news. Shazam's domestic opening was worse than Morbius's. Superhero fatigue is here, folks, and it is here to stay.
So I agree. I think this is down to some superhero fatigue. I think Shazam's also unique in the sense of I keep mentioning it, but it's people knowing it's them revealing the TV spot and stuff is tying it in to DCU. People then are just turning around and go, oh, well, I'm not going to watch it because it doesn't mean anything. People that have followed the DC films know it's resetting. So all these films that are coming out are going to flop because people are well, they don't mean anything to a bigger story. It's a character that's not it's not Superman or Batman. So why am I going to spend the time to go watch it? Also, I don't feel like it had the best promo.
They put no money into promoting it really because they knew that it didn't matter.
Yeah, so it's I do think there's superhero fatigue, and Marvel and DC need to be more specific with
savvy.
more specific with their choices of films, and like what they can't just start chucking out film. They need to kind of be more calculated with what they're doing. Um, Otherwise, every other one's going to be like a flop because there's too many. Uh, Also, more, but it's like hopefully DC puts more effort into their marketing. So for the new stuff that comes out,
I mean, I feel like a lot of the marketing budget that would have gone to Shazam has just been shifted over to the Flash because they think they can
yeah,
still make money on the Flash even though it doesn't matter because it's the Flash and the Flash is big enough that, like a Batman or a Superman, he can put butts in seats anyway. And
yeah,
they know they have to do something to try and win over people who are on the fence after that Ezra Miller situation.
I would agree. It's I think it's going to be still a rough period for DC.
Oh, for
Marvel's
sure.
having their struggles, but like I think DC's next few films are still going to be rough for them, and um, until we are done with DCU and moving on to DCU, they know this, they're just not going to make that much money off the films. I think Marvel just needs to make sure they don't end up slipping that way either too far, because hopefully they make some. I mean, Kevin said this change is coming, so hopefully those help.
I mean, let's be clear. There's a global recession coming. Films
Yeah.
are going to take a hit anyway.
Well, yeah, all entertainment does.
Yeah, but MCU and DC, if they're smart, can be one of the few that survive it because of the long-standing relationship they already have with fans. Just don't screw them over. Like, don't get me wrong, I know it's not that simple, but it can be that simple.
Yeah, no, yeah, it is.
Now time to dunk on Marvel slightly.
Yeah, well, so dunk,
Oh no,
but
I'm going to
all
dunk on them slightly.
okay. Go ahead.
So this reeks. Sorry, I should say what this is. Marvel's head of VFX and other things.
Yeah, it was like
Let me get the tweet.
props, practical effects, like it was all.
President of Physical Post Production, VFX, and Animation at Marvel
Yeah,
has stepped down from her role.
step down.
This is very much a corporate America step down. Above a certain pay grade in every company in corporate America, stepping
the
down is
world.
just you can leave and we can act like you're just choosing to do something new, or we can fire you. We don't want to fire you because hiring someone who you've had to fire at such a high level never looks good. So we can both get out of this without anyone thinking anyone screwed up, even though everyone knows that the VFX
Well,
and post production has been a big point of contention for Marvel since the pandemic.
it's exactly as you say. This is very much she's stepped down, but this is like any big corporate job. You get above a pay grade, and it's like you can. We don't want to move forward with you, so you have the opportunity to step away at your own accord. Looks good for both parties, because at the end of the day, Marvel doesn't want to be seen firing someone. Like that's not
No.
good luck. They don't want to be in the media for that. So quite clearly is that I think anyone who doesn't see that is blind. It's not a surprise. There's more stuff come out of like she apparently was very much to blame for a very toxic environment in the VFX side, at least. Apparently, she would have favoritism. So, like, if you, as this VFX studio or department, screwed up or screwed her, she held that grudge and she would screw you and not give you any, like, she would screw you over on work. So, apparently, that's whether this is true or not, but like, it seems that very
We
much
knew there was problems with the VFX community's relationship
there's
with Marvel.
more and more has been coming out about like pay and different issues and being overworked and stuff. And it seems,
and at the end of the day, if she's the head of that, even if she didn't necessarily make them final decisions, she was in charge of the people who did.
yeah. And it does seem that a bit more is coming out that she was the central point of these issues. And it doesn't surprise me that after Ant-Man specifically, like Marvel's already been in the grill for like their TV shows VFX, but it's like you partly could let it slide a bit. 'Cause like, it's TV, they're not going to put the same budget into it. It's like, okay, it's still better than most TV VFX.
Yeah, I think Mandalorian for me has really hurt their TV
But
getting
yeah,
away with.
this, I think Ant-Man, and then with Mando coming out and people being like, oh shit, this is what Disney's putting out on the Star Wars side of TV, kind of showing you up, Marvel. And I think Kevin's probably, like, rightly so at the top, it's like, we're getting too much shit for our VFX and too much bad press. Like, I'm sorry, you've had your chance to turn this around now. You're gone. And
Yeah.
they're restructuring.
Yeah,
And
and stuff like this doesn't happen quickly.
no, this is
These
definitely
discussions will have been happening 6 months ago.
yes, this has been happening ever since it first started. And it's like, you've had your chance to fix, like, to improve this, and you haven't. Sorry, but you're the problem. You're gone. We are, and I'm hope, like, this is a lofty hope, but I do hope that this is where Marvel and Disney realize the issue and go, okay, we are going to be better about budgeting VFX better and giving more money towards VFX, and realizing that we are not paying up enough and demanding too much for what we're paying for. And hopefully they start realizing that, and if they want the good work, they'll put in the like, they'll put the budget up. I mean, it's Disney, so who fucking knows? But yeah, hopefully they bring in someone who comes from that side of things and respects that side of things, so that they know how to fight for the VFX guys on the Disney side of things. Because at the end of the day, you need someone in that role that is on Disney's side. Obviously, they're going to be high. Like, Disney's got to like them, but you kind of want someone from the VFX post-production side who will bat for them and make sure that the VFX is coming out top level.
100%.
So overall, I mean, for the future of Marvel, I think this is potentially a very good thing. Hopefully, they'll get back to the polish that once was, that I think they've slipped away from. And we've said this purely from the amount of stuff they're putting out. They're just spreading themselves too thin. So hopefully they get back.
And we know they've got a bit of a plan to scale back the amount they're outputting anyway.
Yeah.
So hopefully the scaling back plus the fresh start for the VFX departments might get them back where they want to be.
Hopefully. I mean, we're not going to see it for a film or two, because a lot of these films were already well, like Guardians is like well underway, and I think Secret Invasion, we might see some improvement.
Secret Invasion, I can't imagine would have as much.
Yeah, but if we're gonna have people transforming from Skrull to, there's a lot of VFX in that sense where they're gonna have to.
I feel like a lot of that, if done correctly, could be makeup on the actor when they're in Skrull form, and then you've just got the CGI really having to do heavy lifting for the transitions, which you can limit to happening off screen with like them panning shots.
Oh yeah, they'll be smart by it, but obviously with it being a TV, it's gonna have a lower budget.
Yeah, exactly. So which is why I think they're going to be smarter about it.
They just hopefully we just start to see some more polish from Marvel.
Yeah. Some gaming news, gaming news. Because in my discussion with ChatGPT the other week, they thought we were a gaming podcast. So we like video games, so yeah, we'll throw little bits in there here and there. And yesterday was a very exciting day for us gamers.
It was a big day.
CS:GO 2, the memeiest game of all time, even though it's actually just CS2, isn't it? There is no.
It's just CS2.
It's coming.
They have announced it. Everyone, there was more and more leaks. There was more and more leaks, and everyone was like, "Well, is this actually true, or is this just like a code word for them doing like an update?"
Yeah.
But yeah, no. Yesterday they announced CS2, complete overhaul of essentially the whole game. It's the same game. It's going to be the same map, same everything, but just overhauled on the mechanic side of things.
In reality, if this was a story game, it would be called a remaster. Yes. A ground up remaster.
Yes, it would.
Which I think is probably a fair way to describe it.
Yeah.
But they have added new things, such as the way smokes are going to behave and the such.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. There's new improvements to certain mechanics, like
there
we
is
say
a
with smokes.
there's a weird sentiment that it's just the same game, just better graphics. It's like, well, it's not the fucking same game. They've rebuilt it. It's on a
Well,
new engine. There's new
also
physics.
the people like they've focused very heavily on the mechanics, and yeah, the graphics have had an overhaul, but they're not. It's the same maps. They've just kind of cleaned things up. And
Yeah,
I
they
saw
look
people being
so
like,
much nicer.
they look way nice, but I have seen people being like, oh, graphics aren't even that much of an improvement. Or it's like, you realize that like the CS devs understand that anybody who plays CS a decent amount will set their graphics to the lowest possible. Like the
Yeah,
whole community does it because they want the most FPS.
yeah, it's a competitive shooter.
They know their
And with
community.
the way and with the technology they're using for smokes and that's
Voxels.
gonna hurt FPS a little bit.
It is.
So I mean, don't get me wrong, Valve are really good at optimizing their games. So I'm sure it won't like destroy it, but it's on a brand new engine as well. It's gonna be more intensive to run. So they're gonna not make it fucking RTX'd out of its mind with like, oh, I can
Well, yeah.
count all of the granules of sand in this brick.
Well, the thing is, like, they know the community. They know the player base doesn't. They care more for mechanics and tick rate and things like that than they do.
The color saturation is huge.
Yeah,
it's nicer to look at just
yeah, it
because
is.
the colors.
It is. But alongside, as CS2 got announced, we got the Unreal Engine State of Unreal. Like, yeah, it was there. They're at GDX or GDC.
EpicCon.
I can't remember what it is.
There's some event.
They did their presentation and then revealed UE 5.2, the new features.
My God.
Some great features. Like every time they update, come out with new stuff for Unreal, it blows me away. Like especially with Unreal 5, it's been huge steps on the tech side of things.
The craziest thing for me was the landscaping being done in real time.
Yeah, so that's stuff that has. Here's the thing: it's like stuff like that has been around for a while in Unreal. Like you can set up landscaping stuff, but like you have to set it up and set up parameters that you can scroll between. This is a lot more of like it does a lot more of the legwork for you. Like the big thing that they showed,
the rendering of it at that speed, basically in real time.
That's UE5. Like the stuff UE5 can do now, in terms of handling assets, is just ridiculous. And it's like the impressive thing with this one that they showcased was like having pre-built structures that have determined ways that they'll interact with stuff around them, and it's like it'll figure all that out itself. So it's like cutting down time. It's all for Unreal, all their things and tools they bring out is like cutting down time for devs and the artists so that they can get to spend more time coming up with a final polished version than having to like move individual trees and shit. The other big thing that came from this was we got to see the Fortnite Creative 2.0, which is essentially Unreal Engine Lite. Yeah. It is Unreal Engine given to Fortnite kids to go wild with the Fortnite assets and the whole UE marketplace. So
and just try and stomp Roblox and steal their market share.
Yeah, and for those that don't really, they're like, oh, Fortnite, I thought that game was like it died down, or like it's not that okay, kids play Fortnite, cool, they're getting to play with Unreal. This is Epic setting up the next generation of devs. Like these kids in Fortnite that love the creative scene and coming up with all this stuff are going to go wild with Unreal Engine, become experts at it. So when they come to like 18, 20 and they want to go into the games industry, they're going to be going to game studios and be like, yeah, I know how to use Unreal and just do fucking mad shit with it.
In 3 or 4 years, we're going to get the first real crop of Roblox developers. Then 3 or 4 years after that, we're going to get the first real crop of Fortnite developers.
Yeah, it's
and it's crazy.
It is.
And I'm going to say it now. It might be worth having Fortnite installed just for some of these custom maps that are going to get made.
Yeah, this is going to be a resurgence for Fortnite, and I think also just I've said it a while back. I said it back when Unreal 5 got announced, and some of the stuff they've announced with the launch.
Some of the photorealism show they stowed right at the beginning.
Any studio, we're going to get to an age where studios it's very rare that they'll have their own engine. Like, they're not going to put the time and resources or money and resources into that when they can just use Unreal. Devs know, like, all these new devs are going to learn on Unreal, so it's like they'll be able to come to your game studio and just get going.
And also, if everyone or the majority of people start using Unreal Engine 5, all that's going to do is give Epic more information to improve it and make it better and make it faster and make
More
Unreal
features.
Engine 6 even more powerful.
Yeah. It's a wild time for gaming.
And also, I'm not sure, as someone who's not worked in anti-cheat, but logically, if everyone's on the same engine, anti-cheats are going to be a little bit easier to come up with, because the engine's going to be the same, so you can have like a base level anti-cheat that then, like Unreal Engine, can be tweaked to suit your needs. You can tweak that anti-cheat to suit your game.
Yeah.
Instead of fucking Call of Duty building their own engine and being like, oh, look how sick we are, but then not having the resources to also build an anti-cheat to protect it.
Studios are going to get... It's just going to make it easier for devs to come in and get working on your game. Like, it's just going to streamline development. The more people that move to Unreal, the more the whole games industry is going to become more streamlined. And it's also this... It was proven with Blender. So Blender's open source 3D. It's free to use. Anyone can get it. The industry used to run on Maya. Maya is an expensive piece of software. As a student, you could get it free, but as soon as I finished uni, that software was gone. I wasn't paying the money for it. More people have switched to Blender. Blender's becoming industry standard. Same Unreal. It's free to use. People can jump in and learn. Like, these studios on old tools are becoming outdated. The new kids coming through are using the new stuff, the free open source stuff, because it pushes things quicker. But yeah, it's great news for gamers. And hopefully we get some good superhero games out of this.
Oh, don't even.
Give me a good Flash game on Unreal. Connor would go.
Let me just cut about.
Connor would be very happy.
So good. Oh, it'd be great. I'd lose millions of hours. Give me some kind of MMO Flash game.
Someone making him Fortnite for him.
Yeah. On to some very sad news.
Oh.
In the week, for a lot of people, legend and icon from some part of their life, Lance Reddick very sadly and suddenly passed away.
Yeah.
Apparently it was natural causes, despite how quickly it came out of nowhere.
Yeah, all that was reported was he died of natural causes suddenly. For me, that says died in his sleep or had a heart attack or something.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a sad time, and it's... people will know him from a lot of different things. He played a very big part in Destiny, and as someone who's been playing a lot of Destiny too, when that news broke, I went to the tower in Destiny where his character stands, and there was people just stood saluting, emoting, sat in front of him. Like, people were, in the Destiny community especially, outpour of people going to where his character was and paying their respects in that way.
Well, he's done a lot of voice acting in games, hasn't he? So, like,
he has.
Gamers from all across the fucking communities have just all come together to go, this fucking... Because he's, like, don't get me wrong, he was a very good actor, but he did a lot of voice acting.
Yeah, he's done work across the board. And it's like...
yeah, so much.
For an example of something recently, we talked about Vox Machina. We covered that on this. He was the voice of Fordak. So Critical Role did tweets about how great he was to work with in that and stuff, and it's wild that he's gone, and it's not like he was overly old. He had plenty of years. Yeah, he had loads of years of his career left. So yeah, it's a very sad loss amongst the gaming community, amongst the film community, amongst TV.
It was a huge part of the John Wick films as well.
Yeah. So
It's really crazy. And like the day before, he was online playing Destiny.
yeah, like there was no indication of like anything.
And despite being a very well respected actor, he what a lot of actors did up until recently was they kind of looked down on anything video game related.
Mm.
Not him. He fucking loved it because
Yeah.
he loved video games as well. He was like, "This is a brilliant new way to tell a story. Get me in."
Yeah.
And it's so sad and came out of nowhere. And obviously
Mm.
yeah, it's a lot.
It is.
Um,
But the show must go on.
the show must go on indeed. Superhero Showdown,
Yes.
the Marvel Villains final, our second quarter final.
It is indeed.
Ultron versus Juggernaut. We are obviously at the stage now where there is no advantages given.
For those that don't know and want this in the simplest terms, if you live on the internet, this is ChatGPT versus a rock.
It is very much unstoppable force meets immovable object.
Yeah.
But I've always been a big believer that the immovable object is obviously going to win.
Mm.
And I don't, because it's not just like Ultron's just a supercomputer. He's made of vibranium, or partially.
Yeah.
And he also, like, there's hundreds of him.
Yeah, I think that's the key thing, right? It's not like Juggernaut's just got to smash up one robot. Ultron's got multiple clones.
To actually kill Ultron, you'd have to kill any computer where even a portion of his consciousness resides.
Yeah.
Which, because he knows that's the only way to kill him, makes it basically impossible. Because he makes sure there is a little bit of him basically everywhere. And also, Juggernaut, while he's like crazy powerful, he can't run forever.
No.
He's gonna get tired. Robots don't get tired.
Here's the thing as well. It's like Juggernaut, without a doubt, could smash up Ultron. Isn't a problem. There's multiple, like, and he can do that multiple times, sure. But at the end of the day, Ultron is a highly intelligent AI that has access to the world's information. At the end of the day, he knows everything he needs to know about Juggernaut, anything that exists, how to defeat him, how to what. At the end of the day,
YouTube clips in the universe of a different hero defeating him.
Like, he has all the information he could need to know how Juggernaut works and what his weakness is and how to beat him. He'll just use that. Like, it'll take him a moment to find out that information. Meanwhile, Juggernaut's smashing up like his fifth robot. Then Ultron's like, oh, just do this.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it's like,
I can see Juggernaut dominating early on.
Yes.
But for Ultron, that's just like a research.
Yeah, it's just data collection.
Yeah. And then he goes, okay, cool, my turn. And just ends it quite quickly.
So yeah, I think unfortunately,
yeah, and it's crazy because Juggernaut was the 2 seed in this side of the bracket.
He was, but the number 1 seed being Ultron was quite a step.
Yeah, there was a bit of a jump there.
It's just, yeah, unfortunate that was his final opponent. And I mean, Juggernaut definitely gives it his all, but at the end of the day, Ultron is outmatched.
He is indeed, and that makes him our Marvel villain winner, who will go on to compete against Ghost Rider as our Marvel hero winner in our Marvel semi-final. Next week we will have the DC hero final of Swamp Thing versus Blue Beetle.
Oh.
But that is it from us this week.
Yes.
Next week we'll obviously have Bad Batch episode 15, Mando episode 4. Oh, Bad Batch episode 15 and 16.
Yeah, the finale.
Yeah, Mando episode 5. Our final thoughts before D&D Honor Among Thieves.
Oh yeah.
This is a big chunky week. And it will be episode 61 as well. Crazy. Make sure you're liking, make sure you're subscribing. Make sure you're following us on Spotify because we can see that stat now. I have that stat.
Ooh, we do.
Yeah. So I'm going to be angry about that stat if you don't all make sure you're liking it and rating it and all that good stuff. Thanks very much.
Yes.
We'll see you next week.
See you next week.